Nick Saban's Bama program might be the greatest in history, but only one of his teams made ESPN's list of the top 10 in history. 1971, Nebraska was voted the greatest team of all time. At number 5, our last season's Clemson Tigers. We have to go down to number 10 to find Saban's 2009. Tied on that note, paging all things college football, our friend Paul Feinbaum. Always good to see you, sir. Let me ask you this. Let's start with that poll of greatest teams ever. What, if anything, is wrong, Paul? What the top?
Well, I think what I don't like is Clemson being at number 5. And I know what they did in the playoffs. They won by 27 and 28, but they didn't play anyone on the way. And I think it's just a typical overreaction. Now, it's always difficult trying to judge one generation to the next. I grew up, my favorite TV sportscaster was Howard Cosell. Now it's Stephen A. Smith. Which one would I pick if I had to do a top 10 list?
Yeah.
I think I'd go Stephen A. But I voted. My vote didn't look like that, and I didn't have Saban's teams any higher. But I mean, I start thinking about the great teams in history. The Nebraska teams really stand out. The SC teams, Pete Carroll. But you can just close your eyes and pick one.
So in other words, after the Nebraska, after the 2004 USC squad, you're like, close your eyes and pick one. Yeah. You think those two are head and shoulders above everybody?
I think so, but it's so difficult. I racked my brain. In some ways, it may sound crazy, but Nick Saban's best team may have been in 2010 when he didn't win. He was supposed to beat everyone by 3 or 4 touchdowns, and on this very weekend, he lost to South Carolina in Columbia. But you think about the players he had on some of those teams. Julio Jones. He had Mark Ingram, who won the Heisman. Defensive players that littered the NFL draft. It's very difficult to say.
Miami had some squads too.
That 2001 team was unbelievable.
Could be on that list. In terms of the game right now, you have said, as many have, before the season started, Clemson and Alabama and Georgia class by themselves, right? Now LSU pops up at 4. Is it a class of 3 or 4? Will LSU be there at the end?
Well, I don't think so for this reason. They still have to deal with Alabama. And I know everyone loves Joe Burrow, and they should. And I give Orgeron credit. I mean, he's a stubborn guy who finally decided, you know what, I'm going to bring somebody in who's more capable of opening this thing up. And he brought in Joe Brady from the New Orleans Saints. But I still don't believe on this date, the second week in September, that LSU can go to Tuscaloosa and beat them. For this reason, they have the offense to beat them. Do they have the defense to beat them? They got scorched pretty badly by Sam Ehlinger, who really doesn't have the compliments. When you know what I'm talking about here, Stephen. Alabama's got wide receivers 5, 6, 7 deep. Nobody can compare to that.
You talked to me when I interviewed you yesterday. I asked you a question about the best quarterback in college football right now. You mentioned Trevor Lawrence, obviously, because I was thinking it was going to be Trevor or Tua, and obviously I brought up just Herbert out of Oregon. You brought up Justin Fields at Ohio State. What are we missing? Talk to us about this kid and why. I mean, I didn't expect you to bring that up, but you did.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say he was the best, but when you take a look at him, he is just lightning fast. And Stephen A., you don't find that many quarterbacks that can move like he does. And we didn't really see much of him last year. It just didn't work out. He didn't complement that system very well. I'm still wondering why he even went there to the University of Georgia. But keep your eye on him. And I was on the Harbaugh train early on, and by the way, I'm sitting in the caboose alone right now. There's nobody near me on that train. But I think Justin Fields is such an impact player that he could potentially lead Ohio State.
I want to stay on the Harbaugh train because there was a lot of yelling at my house on Saturday when they barely beat Army. I mean, it was bad. I'm a UConn fan, and we've gotten close with Army.
Sure.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like with Jim Harbaugh, when you're in Michigan, when you're in those areas, you've talked about this, there's a lot of support for him, right, in terms of the fans. But what does this guy need to do to keep his job here down the stretch?
Well, I still don't think his job is in jeopardy. But again, if we move forward and he loses, he's got some tough games. Wisconsin on the road, he could lose that. loses to Notre Dame, and then let's say he loses that one in Penn State, 2 or 3, and doesn't get to the playoffs, then I think the just disgust level of Michigan fans is going to finally rise up. I think college football fans are disgusted with Jim Harbaugh, but I'm yet to hear, and you know more than I do.
But this was the year that they could maybe beat Ohio State. I was also hearing that
according
too.
to Paul Feinbaum.
But Paul, honestly, it's not Army.
The problem that he has, he still has a base support, but it's going to evaporate on him pretty quickly, and I think that's his danger. I am so conflicted on this guy because
I'm not.
I'll listen to you.
The only reason I'll say is this, and I'm gonna let you go, Max. Jim Harbaugh is very, very simple to me. You didn't have much before he got there. His predecessors at Michigan in recent memory weren't that great, okay? We understand that. So he's better than most. Coupled about 10-3 seasons and all of that stuff, even though he's lost his last 3 bowl appearances. Here's the bottom line. There's 2 things you got to do at Michigan. Get to the college football playoff, beat Ohio State. Now, if you do one of the 2, it's forgivable, but we prefer both. He's done neither. Urban Meyer owned him. And now that Ryan Day is there in his first year, okay, I mean, if you can't beat Ohio State now, and you certainly ain't going to the college football playoffs, then you know what you are? Just another coach. Jack. Not Jag, Jack. Just another coach.
You ain't Jack. Yes, I am.
That's right. Just another coach.
Paul, I want to ask about Jalen Hurts. Because when I look at Lincoln Riley, it's not just that quarterbacks perform well with him because of some system. He seems to either identify guys who have it, or that plus the nurturing of them in that environment. Look at Baker Mayfield. I know he didn't play well week 1. He was excellent last year down the stretch. Kyler Murray, you could see, there's a pro quarterback in there. Look out. And then Jalen Hurts, what he's done so far. What are his chances to win the Heisman given his situation?
I think they're superb. And you think about the development. All 3 of these guys have something in common. They left the program. Now, the other 2 were left under much worse circumstances. I mean, Jalen Hurts just happened to run in one of the generational quarterbacks in Tua. The other 2 didn't. They couldn't beat out anyone or hold the job. So they blew out of there for another opportunity. And Lincoln Riley, to me, just has that skill, an innate skill to develop and nurture. The problem Jalen Hurts had at Alabama, he went through about 4 offensive coordinators, and he was never quite the same after Lane Kiffin. I mean, I know they did okay, but Kiffin and Hurts had this very unique relationship. It was nonverbal sometimes, and he didn't have that and got a little bit lost and didn't develop a downfield passing game. I'm still not sure he's going to be a top choice in the NFL draft. That doesn't matter. We're talking about the Heisman. And there is a sentiment. The Heisman is a vote. It's an election. And people like me and you guys don't always pick the guy who is the best. We pick somebody who stands out, because the Heisman I know what it says on the sheet when you vote, but you can interpret it any way you want.
Not even worried about it. He has to be head and shoulders above the crowd because Oklahoma is not getting 3 consecutive Heisman trophies. I think you'll have people that'll vote against him because of that alone.
I wonder if he's going to have a successful NFL career, because Lincoln Riley seems to work some magic.
I disagree with you on that. I think because he is unique. Now, it depends on who it comes down to. The guy I may be a little concerned about right now is Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I know he's probably the best player in the country. But after Saturday night, when they play Syracuse on ABC, you're not going to see this guy again, because they're not going to play anyone again that's even consequential. So he's going to go on the dark side of the moon, and he can rack up big-time numbers, and I'm really not going to care until he plays somebody that matters.
Week 1 struggle is what they'll remember.
Right.
You know what I was thinking about, still stuck on Jim Harbaugh? Jim and John couldn't have had more polar opposite weekends.
Whoa.
The Lamar Jackson redemption tour and then that. Paul, great to have you with us as always.
My pleasure.
Still plenty more to come here on First Take, including Odell taking on